Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of SmackDown. And I thought tonight's SmackDown, though it was a decent show, though it was much better than last week's show, and all in all, I just thought it was a decent show. I mean, we had Nakamura versus Randy Orton. Whoever wins that gets to face Jinder Mahal for the WWE title at Hell in a Cell. And we had Natalya versus Carmella. But the show opened with Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura, just hyping up their match for tonight. Shows Randy Orton saying that, he says that Nakamura will rise or fall, and that he told him last week with the RKO when Orton RKO'd Nakamura at the end of the show last week. And he says, if an opponent stands in his way, they're going to go down. And he says no one will rise against the Viper. And then, we see Nakamura. And Nakamura says that he respects Orton. And he knows how to bring pain. And that he's chasing his destiny to the WWE title. So that pretty much opened the show with Orton and Nakamura. Then after that, we see Carmella and James Ellsworth in the ring. James Ellsworth is getting ready to talk, but he gets interrupted by Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens ends up coming out, and he says to Carmella that he's got good news and that he's going to be the ref in her and Natalya's match, which supposedly is not true though. But Shane McMahon ends up coming out, saying to Owens that he's not going to do what he did last week and become a ref. And he tells Owens to stop blaming him for his losses. And Owens says that he didn't want to be on SmackDown anyways, because he would still be on Raw. And Shane goes on to say, why you want to be on Raw is because Triple H, handed down the the Universal title to you. But then Shane ends up telling Owens, don't blame, him for his losses, but to blame Owens himself. And, Owens starts to trash talk to Shane and, talk about his family, talk about, the helicopter crash that Shane was in. I think it was maybe a month or almost 2 months ago. Or I think it was back in May. But Owens says to Shane that Shane's family would have been better off if he didn't survive that helicopter crash, and that went way too. Owens went way too far with that. Even though it's scripted, it went way too far, and that led to Shane end up beating the hell out of Owens. Just for saying that. Everybody from the back had to separate Shane. Even Daniel Bryan came out to separate him. So that was a good little brawl that Shane ended up beating the hell out of Owens for that. It's gonna set up probably Owens Shane feud fight match probably at Hell in a Cell. So we'll see how that goes. But all in all, it was a good segment with Owens and Shane. And, Shane just beating the hell out of Owens. And then when SmackDown came back from commercial, Daniel Bryan approaches Owens, saying to him that Shane was out of line. And Owens tells Daniel to enjoy his job when he still can. And he says he's going to sue SmackDown. He's going to sue WWE. He's going to sue the McMahon family. And he's going to take WWE down. And he's going to turn SmackDown into the Kevin Owens show. And Owens says that he's going to press charges on Shane, for Shane end up attacking Owens. And then after that, we had the first match, Natalya versus Carmella. It was decent, not great though. Yeah, James Ellsworth, outside, just watching the match. And Natalya has, is competing tonight and also competing next week. Tonight she competed against Carmella. Next week she faces Naomi for the SmackDown Women's title. So, rematch for the SmackDown Women's title. But the match ended with Natalya rolling up Carmella for the win because James Ellsworth, drops the briefcase, and he was thinking, it was the right time for Carmella to cash in the briefcase, and Carmella got pissed off at him. She's like, "No, I'm not cashing it in now," and then that led to Natalya, just rolling up Carmella for the win. So, but overall, it was a decent match. Not great or perfect. Then after the match, Carmella says to Ellsworth that he's the sorriest human being she's met, and she calls him a charity case, and that his mom should have given him away at birth. And she says that her and him are through. So, and then after that, we had Dolph Ziggler ended up coming out. He says that the crowd doesn't want him, and they only want a gimmick. And so, he ends up coming out parodying, other stars' gimmicks. He comes out parodying Cena. He comes out parodying the late great Macho Man Randy Savage. And he ends up parodying Naomi. It was really funny how he came out and started parodying, other superstars' gimmicks. So, but it was funny though. But one thing is I don't even know what they're going to be doing with, Dolph now, with, how they showed him tonight, where they're really taking Dolph. So, but it was a funny segment though with Dolph. And then the next match, it was Aiden English versus Sami Zayn. It was meh. I was like, it was meh. Didn't really care for it. And they have Aiden English win the match. And I'm like, Sami loses to Aiden English? Really? And then after the match, Aiden, tries to sing, and then Sami ends up chasing him off to the back. So, but it was a meh match. Didn't care for it. And then after that, we see New Day and the Usos. They're with Daniel Bryan. Daniel tells the Usos to, what the stipulation is for next week when they face New Day for the tag team titles. And the Usos say they will face New Day in a Sin City Street fight next week. So that's going to be pretty cool to see. And then Daniel ends up getting a phone call from someone, and he says that he'll, go to the ring and explain, what, this person, who was on the phone. And when SmackDown came back from commercial, we saw Daniel Bryan coming down. He gets in the ring. He tells Shane to come to the ring. Shane ends up coming out, and Daniel tells him that, that Shane can't assault a employer, superstar in WWE. So, and then Daniel reveals that he got a phone call from Vince McMahon, and that it is revealed that Shane is suspended because of attacking Owens. So that pretty much sucks. Oh, but all in all, it was a little segment with Daniel and Shane. Then after that, Renee Young interviews Jinder Mahal, saying who would he face, Orton or Nakamura. Jinder says that he represents, the greatest nation, and that he is the greatest WWE champion ever. And he tells Orton and Nakamura, may the best man win, and one of them, will, face the Maharaja. Will fear the wrath of the Maharaja. So it was a little interview with Jinder Mahal. Then the next match, it was Baron Corbin versus Ty Dillinger. Was okay match. Not perfect or great by any means, but it was back and forth between Corbin and Dillinger. Corbin actually wins the match with him the end of days on Ty to score the win. They're just making Ty just a jobber now, like making people not really care for him when everybody was, when he was still in NXT, everybody was chanting 10 10 10, and when he made the number 10 spot at this year's Royal Rumble, the crowd was just hyped up to see him in the Rumble. They were chanting 10, and then nowadays it's like, oh, it's Ty Dillinger. There's less of the crowd chanting 10. So, but overall, Corbin versus Ty was okay, but not great or perfect. And during that match, AJ Styles was on commentary just watching the match. And after that, we see when SmackDown comes back from commercial, Ty is backstage. AJ Styles approaches him, and AJ tells Ty that the US Open Challenge is open to him next week, and Ty accepts the challenge, which that's going to be really cool to see AJ versus Ty next week in the US Open Challenge for the US title. Even though we probably all know Styles is going to retain the title. And then after that, James Ellsworth comes to Carmella, and he says to Carmella, for her to give him another chance. And Carmella ends up telling him that Carmella tells him that they are doing things her way, what Carmella wants to do. And then she ends up kissing Ellsworth. Ugh. Even though it's storyline, it's like, oh, Big Cass, he's gonna be like, what? Like, because Carmella is dating Big Cass, outside of character. So, but and then after that, Carmella just ends up slapping Ellsworth. So, but overall, it was funny how Carmella just slapped Ellsworth. And then after that was the main event, which was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Randy Orton. And this was a good main event. Really, really enjoyed it. Just back and forth between Nakamura and Orton. You had Orton try to hit an RKO, but Nakamura countered it with a submission, which that was awesome. And Nakamura ended up getting a win with the Kinshasa to score the win. And so Nakamura is going to face Jinder Mahal for the WWE title at Hell in a Cell, which that's going to be really cool. Once again, Nakamura versus Mahal for the title. But who knows? Maybe Mahal is going to retain the title at Hell in a Cell, but we'll have to see what happens. So, but all in all, it was a good main event. Really, really enjoyed the match. Then after the match, we see Daniel approaching Kevin Owens, and Daniel tells Owens that Shane is suspended, and then Owens tells Daniel that next week he's going to make SmackDown his personal playground, and Daniel's thing a nightmare. And Daniel also reveals to Owens that next week Vince is going to come to SmackDown next week, which that's going to be really cool to see. So that's how SmackDown ended tonight. But yeah, so anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of SmackDown. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow night for my Lucha Underground review. So, till that video tomorrow night, I'll see you all back here tomorrow night.